This is the moon. The moon. And what do you know? I'm not alone.
Do you ever think about death, Doctor?
Excuse me?
Sit down, Doctor. Join me.
Very well. And yes, of course. I often think about death.
I'm sure you do. A fleeting notion that flickers through the transit of your mind. A victory, a defeat, an enemy vanquished. But do you ever think about death?
Yes. Yes, I do. All life is precious.
Easy words to say. But what about the Daleks on Skaro? The Cybermen of Mondos, the Makra, the Vervoids, the last of the Jaggeroth? Were those not precious too? Do you ever think about death?
Evil must be fought.
Evil? Is it for you to say who and what is evil? And what was it you once said that there should have been another way?
But you can't always find another way. Sometimes you have to kill to prevent more killing.
Face it, Doctor. Death follows you around like a lost puppy.
Okay, so maybe it does, but that's not a deliberate choice. And it doesn't mean I don't care.
But do you really care? Do you ever shed more than a moment's grief for the lives you leave unlived?
Of course I do. But sometimes events take over. There isn't always the time.
Time? You have all the time in the universe, Doctor.
Very easy to say. But you know as well as I do that life isn't like that.
No. Life isn't like that. But some lives, the lives that are lost as a result of your actions, those lives don't get the chance to find out.
Are you here to tell me to change my ways?
Would it be worth telling you to change your ways? Could you change your ways?
Almost certainly not. As well you know. So why are we here? This is the end of the road, isn't it?
I want you to think about death.
I am thinking about death.
Are you really? Or are you simply excusing your actions in your lack of thought? Do you ever stop to wonder about the little people, the ones that you never get to meet? The ones whose fathers and husbands and sons are lost in the crossfires of your wanderings?
Are you charging me with a lack of compassion?
Did you ever lose anyone close to you?
Of course. Any number of people. Katerina, for example.
The handmaiden of Troy, who died a pointless death 1,000,000 miles and 1,000 years from home. Tell me when you last spoke her name, or pictured her face.
I can't.
I know. Can you imagine her thoughts as she fell free of that airlock? Have you ever wondered what she was thinking? What she was feeling? As a life whispered out of her?
I suppose not.
And she was the one who was close to you?
Adric, then. You can't say I didn't feel the loss of Adric.
And yet you allowed that loss to be.
You can't save everyone.
And are you not going to give me the same old excuse? That you couldn't go back and save the boy?
You know as well as I do. I could have saved him at any time between then and now.
Your excuses are only for those who don't know any better, then.
They weren't excuses.
And so what were they?
Adric died. If I were to change things, to go back, it's not that it wouldn't have changed everything, but it would have made Tegan and Nissa's grief irrelevant. Sometimes it's better to grieve. Bringing back Adric wouldn't have changed the fact that he was meant to die, but it would have made the death irrelevant. Adric died for a reason, and that reason was powerful enough that he should stay dead.
So now you're choosing when and if people should die.
It's not a choice. I didn't make it. I was simply there when it happened.
And does that death haunt you? Above all others?
I suppose it does.
So what's so special about one boy? Above everyone and everything else that has died around you? Above the hundreds, the thousands of deaths that you've caused or allowed to happen?
Nothing.
Nothing?
He was a friend.
He wasn't of your kind, nor even from your favorite planet. And yet ultimately you treated him no better than you do your enemies. Have you had no better friends than he?
Of course. Many good friends. Sarah Jane. The Brigadier. You want me to name them? Harry Sullivan. Barbara Wright. Ben Jackson even.
Adric becomes less and less significant.
But Adric's dead. I can't mourn the others.
But the others are all dead too.
What?
In time. In time, everyone is dead.
I thought you meant...
You know exactly what I meant. You can't properly mourn the dead because, for a man with all the time at his disposal, they will never truly be dead.
That's not fair.
Of course it's not fair. On them. You don't mourn the dead because, for you, they are never truly, truly dead. And yet for them, life is but a blinking of your eye. When they die, there is no travelling back and forward, no never truly dead. When they die, they die.
I know that.
And yet you don't truly feel it.
Of course I feel it. I know that a life is over when it's over. I know that there's no tomorrow or the next day for the dead. No just one more cup of tea. No another venture to be had. I know that death is death.
Do you?
Of course I do.
But do you truly know what death is?
Of course I do.
Do you? Have you ever died?
You don't need to die to empathise with the dead.
And you have died any number of times, and yet you still don't empathise with the dead.
I've regenerated.
You've died and are born again. With all your memories, your emotions, your impulses intact.
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. You die and yet you live. Death is truly not the end. Barring accidents, you can live forever. Is that not so?
Barring accidents. And barring choice.
So how do you expect to understand death if you've never felt its hand upon your shoulder? How do you expect to feel it if it can't touch you? How do you expect to mourn those whom you've survived if you survive everyone and everything? What is the point of a life that can't be concluded?
You're wrong.
Just think about it, Doctor.
I will.
Here's something else for you to think about.
Something else.
Something else. Look around you. What do you see?
Rocks. Dust. The sky.
The moon, Doctor.
We're on the moon.
You haven't yet asked my name.
What is your name?
It's Choke, Doctor. My name is Choke.
Choke?
Choke.
I can't breathe.
Choke.
But I can't breathe.
This is the moon, Doctor. There is nothing to breathe.
I can't breathe.
There's no regenerating here. There's no regeneration unless the body you're being born into has a decent chance of life. You can only live forever bearing accidents.
I can't breathe.
I can't die here. Your words. See you in the next place, Doctor.